Now we have to go to the economic demands which were made by the moderate leaders of the Indian National Congress. In the previous clipping, we saw about the general demands made by the leaders of the Congress. But now, since the Indian people were feeling that they were living in impoverished conditions, that is, there was huge poverty all around, and the peasants were suffering because of the high revenue that was charged from them, and also there was lot of food shortages in the country due to famine, droughts and other reasons. So it was justified from the moderate point of view to ask for economic reforms or economic demands from the government. At that time, the moderates first of all demanded that there should be reduction in the revenue rates, and then they said that the military expenditure of the government should be reduced and it should be utilized in economic welfare programs. They also demanded that the forest dwellers who were suffering because of the Forest Act should be made relaxed by relaxing certain forest laws. So the British India, which was highly under poverty, which was highly under economic depression, was to be solved by economic demands which were made by the moderates at this time. Now slowly the methods which the moderates started applying to gain more and more people under their influence were, first of all, they started public awareness program by writing speeches, articles in the newspapers, magazines, journals, so that more and more people could read and they could gather, they could flock together to come under one umbrella. Then they also started giving speeches to infuse amongst the people the feeling of Indianness, oneness and the feeling of being united against the British Raj. So these were the methods which were applied by the early moderate leaders of the Congress. As time passed by, there were certain leaders in the association itself who started feeling that the moderate demands as well as the moderate methods were outdated, were not fit according to the time, and they should be demanding more and in a better way. Therefore, these new leaders which came forward are called as the radical leaders in the history of India. These radical leaders believed in pressurizing the government, using force, and they also believed that the demand should be of freedom and not of merely asking for more jobs, for accommodating Indians and little reforms here and there. The three important leaders of the radicals were Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal, who are popularly called as Lal Bal Pal in the history of India. Well, these leaders, they believe that now is the time to bring about real freedom in India. Another incident which occurred during the same time is the partition of Bengal. Lord Curzon partitioned Bengal in 1905, and the reason that he gave forward was that since Bengal was a very big province, so it was difficult to give it proper administrative reforms and to rule it properly. That is why to give it proper administration, they were dividing Bengal into East and West Bengal, but the real reason was that Bengal was the center of the nationalist movement, and in order to separate the people, this method had been applied by the Britishers, which made the Indians angry and which also made them turn against the Britishers in a very fierce manner. The partition of Bengal had infuriated, that is, angered the people of India against the British Raj. They had totally realized that the Britishers were bent upon partitioning, dividing India and breaking the unity of India. That is why they started with a movement which is called as the Swadeshi movement. According to this Swadeshi movement, which was also called as Vande Mataram movement in the Deltic Andhra and by various other names in various provinces, aimed at self-help and Indian enterprises and Indian education. That is, to discard all that was non-Indian and to adopt all that was Indian in nature. Swadeshi, that is something that was of India, of oneself, of the country. So this Swadeshi movement was a movement which aimed at encouraging the Indian goods and discarding the British made goods. At the same time, another big thing which happened was the formation of the Muslim League. The Muslim League, which is called as the All India Muslim League, was formed at Dhaka in 1906 and they started demanding separate electorates for the Muslims. They felt that Muslims were altogether a different organization, different body, and they should be given more representation or separate representation in the Lok Sabha. Therefore, they started demanding separate electorates for the Muslims, which led to division of the unity that had occurred between the Congress and the Muslims. Because the All India Muslim League clearly said that the interests of the Muslims are different from that of the Congress and therefore they should come and join the Muslim League and demand separate electorates. Another major step which occurred was the Surat Split Congress. That is, at the Surat session of the Congress in 1907, there was a split in the Congress. Because we have already seen that the early Congress leaders were moderates and the later were the radicals. So the moderates and the radicals clashed in the views and the methods and they got split in 1907 at Surat and started working under two different wings. Later on, they both got reunited in December 1915, that is, the moderates and the radicals were reunited in the Congress session. In the 1916 occurred a very historic event, which is at the Lucknow session of the Congress, even the Muslim League joined the Congress. So, the radicals, the moderates and the Muslim Leagues had become one by 1916 Lucknow session of the Congress.